Hello, you guys.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to episode
10.
Episode 10 of She Means Well.
2 hands.
2 hands. This is a milestone, Bill.
Episode 10.
This is so exciting. I'm so excited to be here. I know I say that every week, but I mean it.
Oh, I mean it too.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was good. I feel like it went fast and slow all at the same time.
I feel that.
Do you?
I did gasp. No, I really do feel that. I feel like the work week can go by slow, but then I'm like, oh, it's the weekend.
Yeah, I guess that checks out.
Yeah, it does.
That the weekend would go quick.
Did you see the results on the Would You Rather?
I checked earlier and it seemed, it was hours ago, but it seemed pretty cut and dry.
It's what I wanted it to be.
It's what it should be.
Yeah. For those of you that voted toilet paper underneath,
2 of you last I checked.
Individually, let's chat.
I will be having a conversation with both of you, actually.
Just a little iffy. To kick off episode 10, we want to start with another Would You Rather. This week's Would You Rather is, would you rather always have a popcorn kernel stuck in between each tooth, just lodged in your gums, or always be wearing damp socks?
It's the most annoying thing when you step in like my cat, we got the one cat on planet Earth who loves water and he just goes swimming in his water dish and it's so annoying to walk past it and you just get like a drop of water, even if it's just a drop. I honestly, and I hate having stuff in my teeth, especially popcorn kernels. You know, you could have one and you're just like all day. Like,
yeah. Ooh.
But I think I'm going to have to choose. I don't want to have a wet sock.
There's nothing worse than like running out of the house.
No, I'm sorry. I said that backwards. I don't want kernels in my teeth.
Yeah. So you would rather have
I'd have to choose that.
The damp sock.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than you're like trying to run out of the house in a hurry and then you step in water in your sock. Not me running late. Yeah, that ruins your day, kind of. No, it just ruins the moment, whatever.
Especially if you like your socks. Like if it's like a new clean pair.
Gosh,
obviously clean all the time.
Okay, stinky feet girl.
I love dirty feet. No, but you know, you put on a like, ooh, I love this special pair of socks. You
totally.
know?
And that sucks in itself.
Not all socks are created equal.
No, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell you how many patients I've seen that come into the office thinking like their tooth is like infected because they're in so much pain. And then come to find out it's literally a popcorn kernel.
Ooh.
That's happened so many times.
Yeah.
So
when we found that one, I was like, oh, Abby's definitely going to have an opinion about the kernelage in the teeth, the gum situation.
Yeah. So I would definitely pick the wet sock. Damp.
One time I got from eating corn on the cob. It's happened to me twice actually, but a piece of pepper lodged up so far into my gums, you can see like a black dot in your gums.
It was like it was translucent right there in your gums.
Yes.
I feel like I remember that. Ooh, that's bad.
Did I just get?
No.
Oh, really?
You're good.
I felt my bottom lip touch my
lipstick check.
Yeah.
My mom came into the office today and she was like hurrying in and she's like, sweetie, I was so happy to see her. And she had like lipstick on her teeth. You know, I hate that.
Oh, I know. You just got to be a girl's girl. Always.
Yes.
Always tell.
So on today's episode, we do have a mashed potatoes and gravy, if you will, that we do want to discuss. And it is kind of going back to things that we talked about in the beginning of our podcast, episode 1, 2, 3. And that is forgiveness. But before we get into that, there's a couple silly things that we want to talk about, some memories. Bailey reminded me of the first and only time I've been fired. What is that, Cat in the Hat?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to share that story. When I was in high school, I worked at Taco Time. It's my first job. And I had been in a pretty bad car accident and the chemicals from the airbag burned my arms really bad in my chest. And so I had these bandages wrapped all on my arms, just white bandages. But me, I'm like, I still got to hustle, still got to work. And honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be working because
double fingers.
Get this. I wasn't supposed to be working because I had a really bad concussion, but mama's got to hustle always. And so, I'm in the kitchen just like whipping up these tacos, and my manager was not.
Is it like an assembly line?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Somebody's on like the beef and the chicken. Somebody's doing dishes. And then there's a couple people on the assembly line.
Okay.
And at the time, I think I was like making the beef or whatever. And my manager, who was not very nice, she was like, Abigail, dishes. She put me in the dish pit. And if you've ever worked, I have burns, Bailey.
You should not have been at work.
I know, I shouldn't have. And I was driving again too.
I was drunk. I'm like, oh, okay.
No. So I had these wraps all the way like on my forearms, and then I had some like on my chest. And maybe she thought I was faking or something, so she just wanted to test me. I don't know.
This is the girl who she couldn't make it somewhere because she was in a car accident, and all of those stories.
I was in a couple car accidents. Anyway, yeah, she's like, Abigail, dish pit. So I'm back there. I am sopping. My bandages are sopping wet.
That's so gross.
That is so disgusting. That is so rude. Long story short, I had a really bad concussion, and so I forgot my shift one too many times and got booted from the tacos.
You forgot your shift?
Yeah, Bailey. I'm like, when it comes to work.
Oh, a surprise visitor.
Oh, get the hell out of here. Just kidding. Love you, buddy.
Don't say his name. He'll circle back.
I know. What was I saying?
You didn't go to work?
Yeah, I forgot my shift one too many times, and that's like not me at all. They were aware that I had a concussion. They were aware that I was coming to work, even though I had like a doctor's note that saying that. Our little mascot, sorry you guys. If you're watching, my dog Rufus made an appearance.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you see him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They fired my ass.
I've actually only had one other job other than what I do now, which was Forever 21.
Oh my goodness. Was that seasonal?
Mm-mm.
How long
probably only worked there for a season.
How long were you there?
Well, my first day, like first couple of days, one of them was like Black Friday, I swear. And I remember just being like, Forever 21. Nobody knows where anything goes. And
stresses me out.
People are stealing left and right. And you just hear a sensor go off. They're like, don't chase them. But I did find a hack. If you ever find yourself working in a Forever 21, if someone comes in, at least at the Tacoma Mall, it's different now, but it was 2 stories. It was the old Nordstrom. It was huge. But people would come in and ask something specific on their phone, like, hey, do you know where this is? And if I was downstairs, just act confident and then it's fine. And I was like, oh, yep, that's upstairs, right up the escalator. And if I was upstairs, I'm like, ooh, right by the entrance, it's downstairs. If I was up, it was down. If I was down, it was up.
And then they'd get lost.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I literally don't know. That store is organized by a type of girl who will shop in that section. So it's like the girly girl section, that edgy girl section.
That's
at least
so
it was
true.
When I worked there.
Yeah. That is so true.
I don't know. There's a leather jacket in every section.
Yeah. Just a different color.
Yeah.
Or different pattern or something.
Or I'd be like, I'll be right back. I'll go look upstairs, and I'll dip to the bathroom. I'm like, I don't know. Go find someone else. Pick on someone your own size.
Yeah. Give you props for signing up to work there. That's hard. Real quickly, I want to talk about our spooky episode when Bailey and I were men. We received such great feedback. I think people did get a laugh out of it. But something that was brought to my attention, one too many people told me that I would make a very nice looking man.
Dude, you're too pretty. Like that guy, he was our nightmare.
He was my nightmare.
Like the chin strap, the hat floating.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, my guy wasn't my type per se, but
I would hang out with your guy. Like, he would be fun.
Yeah.
I'd go snowboarding with him.
Yeah.
And maybe, I would hang out with him. But my guy, get lost.
He's like in the mall parking lot with the vape mod, like.
So
at the taco time.
Or hanging out behind like a restaurant.
Ooh.
But the first time it was like, oh my gosh, Abby, that's kind of weird. Like, you look good as a guy. I'm like, okay, well, but 1, 2, 3, 4 times was way over the limit. And I felt a little uncomfy.
Yeah, not one person said I looked good. I'll take it as a compliment, I guess.
Whatever. It was fun. I had fun.
Dude, that was so funny.
Yeah.
Maybe just for us. I don't know. But
No, I don't know. Maybe it was, but regardless, it was a good time.
Don't care. They may be back.
Bailey has been going off on her sourdough as she has been the last month or two. She has unlocked something for me. Okay, I will say I'm a good baker. I make really good milk chocolate, just chocolate chip cookies. Very good. Shout out to my pops, my dad for teaching me the ways. But this girl, you unlocked something so new. She makes sourdough cookies.
It's like the discard from the sourdough. If you know, you know.
They are voluptuous yet moist, but dense. And
the inspo is the cookie from that market, you know. And I don't hold back when I'm forming my cookie. I will say that it's just a go, and then you put a little on top of that, 2 piles, and you get, and then a little flaky Salt Bae.
Oh my goodness! And obviously, it's obvious you put a lot of love into them.
That's the number one ingredient.
I have had cookies made by someone that just didn't care, and they seriously did not taste that good. They followed the recipe, but I could tell there's no love.
Yeah, it's the coldest kind of cookie.
Yeah, but
well, thank you.
Don't make them again, please.
Yeah, I don't plan on it. We went to a Halloween party and I brought some, and I doubled the recipe because I was like, oh, I want to make sure I want to go. It's like embarrassing to go to a party with like a couple cookies. Like you need to have a mound of plate full of cookies.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a ton of dough left over. And my friend's like, oh yeah, you should just like freeze the dough. Like next time you need to whip up cookies for something, then you have it done. And I'm like, oh, what a good idea. Comes home the next day, just bakes them all, eats them all.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just you. Jordan and I definitely had her fair share. I learned about Jordan. He doesn't eat cookie dough.
Ew, psychopath. I know. Isn't that weird?
Bailey, it's kind of a red flag.
I know. I had a spoon. I'm like, babe, you want a bite of this cookie dough? And he's like, no, I'll wait. You know, another thing he says?
I like responded when you said babe. I'm like, yes.
Another thing he says is anytime I'm like cooking dinner and maybe I need a little snack because I'm not going to make it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, do you want something? And he's like, no, I don't want it to spoil my appetite. If he says that in front of my dad's always like, I've never said that sentence a day in my life.
I don't think I have either.
I don't think it exists for me. It's not going to stop me from eating my dinner because I'm like, well, I'm too full. Like,
no,
power through.
No, I definitely, as I'm cooking, like I'm snacking.
Yeah. Especially with shredded cheese. I'm like,
I know. Oops. A little drizzle here.
Make sure it's still good.
Doing my diligence for the people I'm feeding.
Yeah, that's right.
Bailey and I, we have like a shared notes that we like, just jot down things that we want to talk about in the next episode. I don't know what this is. You wrote recess games. Helicopter. Please explain.
Because, okay, the other day, Jordan and I were talking. He said something about a helicopter, and I was like, helicopter over my head. I choose a color, and the color is red. And I was like, babe, you know that, right? And I can't remember if he did or didn't, because he stopped going to school at 3rd grade and then he was homeschooled. So
you made it sound like he dropped out.
Those are formative recess years. But I wanted to talk about what kind of recess girly were you?
Okay. I went through
Foursquare,
stages. Tetherball. I was a big tether when I was younger. And I went through that stage too. I remember
What's the name of the first boy that you remember chasing?
Justin.
Colin.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Philson the other day was like, Auntie Bebe, what was the name of your first crush? And I was like, Colin, easy.
Oh, I remember actually being at your house and using your phone to text him because I didn't have a phone yet or something.
Oh, that's funny.
On T9.
Oh yeah, in the sweatshirt. That was the best. Like,
oh my gosh. Oh, I could just hear the clicks right now.
The way your thumb would just like roll around that trackpad, whatever. Like it knew it was home.
You're like red.
Ooh, flip phone.
Yeah.
That was my first phone. Yeah.
I'm thinking of those clicks and just the way it felt. The buttons felt. It's just so crisp.
You can't extend my leg.
No, please do. Did you wash your feet?
These are clean socks. I actually just put them on.
I just joking. I did go through a phase where I used to wear bows in my hair a lot. Shout out to my scene sisters.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they would like poof their hair and then put like a bow and
I know the type.
yes. So I would wear the bows and I remember it became like a recess game. And I was like, yes, this is perfect.
What?
Like the boys would like take my hair bow.
And you're like, no.
I'm like, don't do that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Back in my tetherball days, I was like a tomboy. Do you say tomboy or tom girl?
Tomboy.
But I'm a girl. So when I say tom girl, no, tomboy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a tomboy and I went through this very short season in my life where, so my middle name is Joy, Abigail Joy, and I wanted to be called, please wait, AJ.
I do not remember that.
It was a short-lived season.
Only at school?
No, it was at home. Asked my siblings about it. At least my sisters. I don't know if Caleb ever knew.
AJ.
Yeah. Like, I was raw.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that just unlocked something.
What?
Your mom, my auntie, you know. My middle name is Jane. So my initials would be BJ.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about that.
So your mom texted me probably about a year ago and was just
bless
like,
her heart. Bless your heart, mother.
Auntie,
I love you.
I wish we didn't live in the world that we do, but we do.
Yeah.
I wish things didn't have to be tainted, like a cute little nickname that you want to call your niece. But she texted me about a year ago, an audio.
Of always.
Yeah. And she's like, Bailey, oh, Bailey, I remember when your mom was going through this list of names and she knew you wanted her first name to be Bailey and she thought like Jane, okay, it's a family name after great grandma, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh my gosh, we could call her as a nickname BJ. And I just thought it was the cutest thing ever. Yeah, and I did not have the heart to like send an audio back. And I'm like, Auntie, I'm gonna have to tell her this in person. I was like, oh, I love you, Auntie. Bless your heart. And then just recently, a couple weeks ago, she texted me asking the same thing. Would you mind if I called you BJ? I just think that's the cutest nickname ever. And I just texted her back. And I sent her audio back. I said, Auntie, sure, you can call me BJ. But first, you got to ask your daughter what that means.
And then she FaceTimes me. We're on FaceTime and I have to do the dirty and...
Like she knows. She says she knows, but she's like, my brain's not in the gutter.
Baby.
And you were like, Mom, my brain's not in the gutter either, but that's just, it is what it is.
It's just the world we live in.
I don't think my mom would know.
It's a thing, Pat.
Pat and Paul are in wholesome land together.
Wholesome land. That's a good way to put it. I wish I was.
I want to live in wholesome land, but
it's impossible in our generation.
There's just too much you see.
Yeah. But hey, more power to you if you didn't know what that was.
Auntie. You know what? I don't care. You can call me BJ. Only you, Pat.
Only you, mama. Okay, so I did have something I want to share about my week that I'm really proud of.
Let me hear it, sister.
So you guys, when I was younger, I would say like middle school, elementary, middle school,
if you will.
Okay, if you will. Rewind, actually. When I was 6 years old, my dad was getting his blood drawn. He fainted. For all I knew, he died.
Gone.
He passed out. And it really scarred me. I remember my oldest sister like taking me out like outside for a walk and like really comforting me. And I think her comforting me made me think it was even a worse situation. Like he for sure was dead. And that situation
did it like hit the ground? What was he sitting probably?
He was sitting in a chair and then he fell off of the chair and he had to be like caught.
Wait, can I pause your story for half a second? So when that happened, it was a nurse that came to your guys' house for whatever reason.
And I don't know why. But
turns out, I don't know if you know this,
insurance?
We had a nurse that had to come to our house to draw blood for some reason. She's
Bailey, is that something weird?
I don't know.
Does anybody know?
I don't know, but it does get weird. I'm like waving an air gun. It does get weirder because she was there at our house doing whatever. And then she saw in the fridge, she goes, do you know that guy? Or how do you know that guy? Your dad. A picture of your dad on the fridge. The same nurse that came to your house that experienced your dad passing out. Unless I'm making up a childhood memory, I'll have to double check this with my mom. She came to our house and it was like, whoa, weird small world kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, that is
unless I'm like my brain's
weird.
really wanting to connect the dots, like, you know, those memories that you're like, maybe I made that up.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that that's real.
That is weird, dude. I never knew that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, continue. So my dad's dead. No, okay. He's not actually dead, but I thought he was dead. So that traumatized me. And you guys, I got really weird after that when it came to like anything medical. Like given like I then started fainting anytime I needed like, you know, my 6th grade shots.
Pick me. No, I'm kidding.
And then like my blood draws, like everything really, really freaked me out. It was like a mental thing for me. I would faint every time. But that's not the weirdest part. Literally, I remember just the color red. The color red on my nightlight in my room would make me like dizzy.
Oh, like you really built it up.
Yeah, what a freak.
Like the power of the brain.
If that was my kid, I'd be like, honey, we got to get her into counseling.
Literally therapy.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh. I don't know why your mic does that.
I don't know. We need to fix that. But my accomplishment this last week, I drew blood. I drew somebody's blood. And
I could never do that.
I never
I feel
could do that. Bailey, the
sweaty
thing
thinking about
is
it.
You can.
I could never.
Bailey.
Well, I never will be in the position.
But isn't me sharing this story, and you know how bad I was when it came to anything medical.
Yeah,
and
I
blood,
feel like I
needles.
inherited your fear.
But
no.
you hearing my story, you can do it.
I'm proud of you. But
if I can do it, literally anybody
literally,
can.
the thought of a needle going into this.
I know. And now I know what it feels like.
Does it kind of like, you know, when you like,
no, it
you
kind of
know,
is
when
like
like
a, if you think
pierce
about like
someone-
an egg in the membrane, you know how there's like a membrane.
yeah,
Like imagine putting like a needle through that thin
the
little
skin
membrane.
feels that like the needle's that sharp.
Yeah. And so it feels like if you were to poke that. Sorry, that's kind of but long story short, you can put your mind, I mean, you can well,
We've noticed this week that Abby speaks like Yoda.
yeah.
It's like, I feel like I do that too. It's like the words in your mouth, in your, oh my gosh. You know that video of the little kid that's like, I just, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Whatever.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's like the words in your brain, you can't get them out. So you just like, shoot them out and it's in the wrong order.
Whatever.
Yikes. I don't know if I've ever overcome any fear.
I would say try it, Bailey, because it feels really good. Like I cried after I did it.
That'd probably be me walking through like a bird exhibit.
Okay, that's just stupid, Bailey. That's unsafe, first of all. I don't think you should do that, honey. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm not. No,
A bird exhibit. Are
drawing
they in
someone
cages?
else's. No, like people find joy, and at the zoo they like get the little thing of nectar, honey, whatever, and they like feed it. I'd rather die.
Yeah.
I'd rather swim with in a shark cage. Maybe not with a free floating shark, but like in a cage.
Yeah. Serious. That is one of my greatest fears is like sharks, and I would go cage diving.
I would too. It's like
let's face it,
the odds are in our favor.
Oh, I just pictured like jaws like right on the cage.
Would die.
I know.
Gets your ankle.
Bye. Okay, so I want to get into the taters.
The sauce.
The sauce, as Bailey says.
Coming up.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Wait, what's your most excited dish that you are for? Like that, Yoda, dude.
I do it too. I don't know why we do it.
I think it's an ADHD thing. It's like, everything is.
Blame it on that.
But it is. It's like you have so much information firing and then it's just like,
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I'm like, fine. What was I saying?
Favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Oh, yes. My favorite Thanksgiving dish. Will you go first? Let me think.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Gravy and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Gagas.
That's up there.
Our grandma makes the best gravy ever.
It is super good.
It's super good. And like the Hawaiian roll. I honestly am a really big fan of the day after Thanksgiving, the roll, the sandwich with the cranberry and
Everything you're saying, I'm like,
I love that.
wait, can I tell you a secret about Gaga's mashed potatoes and gravy?
I already know.
My dad?
No.
My dad sneaks behind her every time she makes them and he adds more salt.
Oh, I did know that.
Yeah.
But that's her recipe. Because your dad's always done that.
Yeah.
Without her knowing.
Oh, the gravy. We're going to talk about my dad's gizzards.
No.
So gross.
What is that?
It's like
my dad's gizzards.
What? It's like I don't know what gizzards are. It's like the innards of
I think
the
a gizzard
turkey.
is like a throat.
But I'm pretty sure when you get a turkey, the gizzards are like stuffed inside. It's like a packaged deal.
Oh, you buy gizzards?
No, it's like buy one, get one. You're getting the gizzards if you buy a turkey.
Oh.
And my dad,
what does he do?
I think
what does he do?
I don't know if he always puts them in or if he has a separate. I think he puts them in because it makes it more flavorful, but it's disgusting.
Oh.
Or he'll look away and he's like,
so I've been eating that for the past.
He'll be like, hallelujah, in Jesus' name.
24 years.
More gizzards. Yeah.
I will say,
it's disgusting.
Your dad it's either your dad or my dad. I feel like doing the prayer before we all eat together. But when it comes to Thanksgiving, Lance is not messing around.
He's like,
that is the quickest prayer.
Yeah, Lord, thanks for these people. And he sounds like an auction.
No, let's eat.
He's like an auction guy. Get rid of it. Turkey, gizzards for two. Mashed potatoes. Green bean casserole. Let's go. Amen.
So true. That is so true.
It is a quick prayer. It is a quick prayer.
Okay, you keep jogging my memory. I want to touch on real quick. I feel really bad for the new men that are introduced into our family when it comes to those Thanksgivings.
Well, hopefully they have their eyes closed during the Thanksgiving prayer because we do have a tradition as us kids.
Okay,
we won't talk about the origin, but we all open our eyes. All of the cousins open their eyes during the prayer, holding hands, and we all go.
Yeah, we're weird. I was talking about they're always asked to like do the prayer.
Okay, so let me set the scene. It was Christmas Eve service at church, and my sister was dating this guy. Couldn't say he was particularly like our family's favorite choice for her.
Okay,
you know?
Okay.
And she's trying to get him to church and splash holy water on him so we like him or something. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so it's Christmas Eve and we do communion. And this year they're like, everyone just like break up and like do communion like intimately with your families, you know? So everyone's broken up. Everyone goes up and gets like a hunk of bread and then like distributes it evenly between them.
Yeah.
And my brother was like really not a fan for my sister to be dating this guy.
Yes, I'm aware.
And he gets this hunk of bread and he distributes everyone a mice-sized nugget, like just a little bit. And he gets to her boyfriend last and just gives him. And this guy didn't grow up in church. He's probably like, what are we eating bread? And like, is this grape juice or wine? Like,
yeah.
He gives him this whole hunk of bread.
A loaf.
A literal loaf of bread. And is just like, all right, let's do communion. And, you know, and it was just like, and my sister whispers, she's like, you don't have to eat all that bread.
Hanson.
I know, he'd probably be embarrassed. Actually, I'm pretty sure my sister asked him, have you listened to Bailey's podcast? He said, no, I'm scared she's going to talk about me. So hopefully you start here. Okay.
Miss you, Jance.
I know. I need to call you back. You tried to call me.
Oh, that's funny though.
Yeah. But I'm sure he had asked my sister for forgiveness for that one.
I'm sure he did.
But I don't know that he ever did.
Maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah. Probably not. But she's probably like, I forgive you. Forgiveness is
it's a funny thing. No,
it is a funny thing.
It's an important thing.
There's definitely been times in my life that I should have asked for forgiveness, and like you feel the knock knock.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Yeah, it can feel heavy, and
this just took a serious turn, but that's actually like a real thing.
It is. Growing up in my family, and this is something that we're so open about now, like us all adults that we're able to talk about, and we've all gotten so much healthier and healed from this. But it was a common thing to stonewall in my family. An example that stands out in
if you
my
guys had like a argument or
yeah. For example, like so stonewalling, I kind of looked up the definition so I can share with those of you that don't really know, but the definition is refusing to communicate with another person and withdrawing from the conversation to create distance between the individual and the partner or the other person
party
involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so something that stands out in my mind, I love you, Dad. We've talked about this many times, so I feel open to talk about this, but I don't remember what it was, but my dad and I were in an argument, and I came across very disrespectful to my dad. And this was in the time, like I was really involved in volleyball. And my parents were like the biggest cheerleaders. They went to all of my games, home, away, like every single time. And I remember my dad going to like one of my volleyball games, and it was like I played really good, and he left, didn't say a word to me, and the stonewalling continued.
Because you guys had sorry, did you say you guys did have an argument?
Yeah.
Well, clearly, duh.
Yeah, we had an argument. He found me being very disrespectful.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And there was no like coming to the middle for that conversation. And so the stonewalling began, and it lasted like 2 weeks. And I remember being like, oh, my dad's at my game. Like, of course he is. He always is. But in my mind, I'm like, well, my dad's not talking to me right now, so he probably won't be at my game. He was at my game, and then we didn't like speak after that game. And that like really stuck in my mind of like, this sucks. Like, why go to my game and like support me, but you can't even like talk to me at home, afterwards, after the game. So that hurt really bad. And, that's something that my dad has brought up to me now. And it was a personal thing. It was a him thing, something that like he needed to address. And it was, because forgiveness really, it's for you. Obviously it's important.
It's for the hurt person is what you're saying.
No, I'm not. It's
or for the person who. Sorry.
No, what I'm saying is, I mean, yes, the person that is hurt, it's important for that person to say, I'm so sorry. Like I messed up. But is it needed? No.
Yeah.
It's not. And I feel like forgiveness is a thing that you have to find within your own heart. And I've had to learn that through a couple of different ways. And this was a like coming to for me pretty recently on. So I want to kind of give you a couple like situations where I have found forgiveness and the healing in that. So my mom and she hurt me pretty bad like 5-6 years ago. And she asked me for her forgiveness, and I forgave her, and she wounded me pretty deeply. And that was definitely something that took, years of rebuilding our relationship. But she was pursuant, and she wanted to rebuild it. She wanted to put the effort in rebuilding that relationship. And so I didn't have the feelings of like anger or grudge, because she had such a soft heart, and she asked for my forgiveness. And so it's easier to forgive someone when they're asking for your forgiveness. I've also been in a situation where I've been really wounded by someone, and to this day, they've never asked for my forgiveness for the way that they hurt me, when they well know that what they had done was wrong. And when I was going through that, in the thick of it, in that whole journey, I had talked about on the podcast before. It was my best friend my ex-best friend that was with my fiance. Still haven't heard an apology from her. And I was feeling anger for the very first time. And when I was processing everything that had happened, everything that hurt me, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, refer back to episode 2.
Hit it now.
Hit it now.
After this.
But yeah, she never said sorry to me. And so I was holding a grudge in a way. I was angry.
Like you almost feel like you couldn't have that closure unless you heard that from her. You were in that headspace.
Like she owes me an apology.
Right.
And so I'm angry. And it was,
and that's her thing she needs to do. Until she does that, I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm like, how am I able to not feel that way towards my mother who hurt me so deeply? I don't feel anger one bit towards my mom, but I'm feeling it with this person. That's when I realized it's because with my mom, like I genuinely gave it to God and saying, I don't need to feel this burden, this heaviness. My mom is pursuing me. She asked me for forgiveness, but even if she didn't, in that situation, I truly just gave it to the Lord and said, this is not mine to own. Lord, do a work in her, do a work in me. Because when it comes to forgiveness, I don't feel like you do need the other person. You
Definitely
truly don't.
You don't.
To this day, I still haven't received an apology from my ex-best friend. I hate saying that. And I genuinely forgive her from the inside out. It doesn't matter the lack of words that I've had from her. It's like, why am I going to hold on to those feelings? I don't need her to say, I'm so sorry for what I did. Right. I can do it through my relationship with God and me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Forgiveness is definitely not something that, like, to put it this way, my parents, they were really big in our household growing up on asking for forgiveness, because there was a lot of families that we, would see do life, and they would say, two kids have a disagreement and the parent says, go say sorry.
Right.
One says, I'm sorry. And the other one says, okay.
Right.
And then is it really resolved? But my parents, they taught us, like, if there is a disagreement and hurt that has happened and someone like is hurt by your actions or whatever, by just going, I'm sorry, you hold all the cards. But when you say, will you forgive me to your whoever, you're giving them the opportunity to say no.
Right.
Because by saying, I'm sorry, you literally are holding on to, like, I really don't care if you forgive me or not. But when you say, will you forgive me? And it was actually kind of funny when, like, Jordan and I first started dating, because we would have like these disagreements and he'd be like, okay, babe, I'm sorry. And I'd be like, and then,
yeah,
like, aren't you going to follow up with, like, hello? And that's when it hit me that, like, my parents really instilled that. And it just, to say, will you forgive me? It is just like putting your heart on a platter and being like, I'm letting you say yes or no. And if you say no, then, like, okay, then that's your choice. That's your answer.
That's yours to own.
But then to be the person on the receiving end, when someone's asking you, do you forgive me? Like, that's a pretty serious question. I don't care what the stakes are. If you stole their Play-Doh or if you hurt them by distrust, like, it's a serious question. And, like, but you don't need, I agree, you do not need, because, like, the simplest way I could think of it is, like, someone being hurt by, like, in a romantic sense and being like, I need to get closure from that guy because he hurt me and I have this animosity towards him because he never apologized. And it's like, when you get to the point of, like, if the goal is peace in life, like, shouldn't we want to have this just, like, true rest and peace? And when you're holding on to that bitterness, that does nothing for the person that you're mad at. That person could be living their life in peace, even though they maybe haven't asked you forgiveness. It's a choice to hang on to resentment.
It totally is. And at the end of the day, you're just hurting yourself.
You're just hurting yourself.
And you're not able to heal holding on to a grudge, holding on to the anger that you're feeling. And so I think the sooner that you can say, you know what, that's for them to own. In my heart, I'm going to forgive them. I remember too, like, genuinely not believing it, saying that out loud, or even in my head, like, I forgive her. I forgive her. I didn't believe it for a really long time.
Like, you could say it, but you didn't feel the shift.
I didn't genuinely feel the shift. But after you, what is the word? Manifest that for so long, pray about it for so long, and just like truly wanting to have that heart, your heart will change.
Because I just think, like, I get the image of like someone running a marathon, right? And like you're on this marathon of unforgiveness and you're just having this bitterness. And once you just are like, you know what? I forgive them. You just are literally relinquishing. It's a control thing, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is, because it's like, I trust that, like, and not to mention, like,
it's a mind game, Bailey. It's like, I want them to know that they hurt me.
Exactly. These pointed fingers really mean a lot.
I know, I do that a lot. It's not like Jack.
It is a mind game. Because it's totally that, like, I want them to come to me on their knees, and I want them to.
They hurt me so bad, so they need to go on their knees.
I just felt myself as you're talking be like this.
I know. I saw gritting your lips.
I know, but it really is. And you don't need it from someone else.
It's so easy to fall into the way of the world of like, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Ugh. Oh, come on. I hate that saying. I hate it so much because it's like, okay, so you're still holding a grudge.
You don't forgive.
You don't forgive.
You don't.
It has to be a change of heart. And remember that forgiveness is the same as, or is not the same as forgetness. Your dad shared this with me and I want to read it too. You can forgive and still work on forgetting. Sometimes people think they can't forgive if they can't forget, which I think is so true. Yeah.
For the people in the back, in for me.
Forgiveness is not the same as forgetness. In other words, you can forgive and still work on forgetting. And I think about when I was younger, you know, I hurt my brother's feelings, you know, and I need to say sorry to him. I say sorry to him and then I'm like, okay, want to go play? And he's like, no, I don't. Like, you hurt my feelings, and that's okay. Like, people, it takes time for people to process, and everybody processes differently. I think about our situation when I felt like I was ready to pursue our relationship again. You weren't there yet. And I had to take a step back and praise God that I had a clear mind then that I could see that, okay, she's not ready, but you needed more time to process, and that's completely fine. When it can get a little dangerous is when people take so much time to process. It's like, what are they doing in that time to process? Okay, let's say you did take longer than I did to get to that point, and that's completely fine. But what were you doing in that time? You were praying about it. You were talking to people of wisdom about it. You weren't just sitting there holding grudges. You were processing in a healthy way and bringing it to the Lord.
Because it could have been the other way where it's like you're sitting in, I'm like, sitting in unforgiveness or just bitterness, honestly. And that can just like, I think of like wet cement, and it's like malleable in the beginning, but over time it's going to dry and it's going to get harder and harder and harder. And it's not so malleable anymore. And it's not going to just like be a puddle. It's hard cement. And like, if there's too much time that goes and I just think about like, there's so many people out there that have like such deep hurt from like past marriages or whatever. I don't know why my brain keeps just going to like a romantic sense, but it's like, there's people who like share children and they just have nothing but resentment and bitterness towards their ex-spouse or whatever. And like, think about what that does instilling into those children. Like your dad, well, because you have the bitterness about your own personal stuff with him. Right. That's just instilling all of this stuff into them when really it's their image of like who their parents is. Like you have to like foster that role. Like, I'm going to choose to not talk bad about my ex, because whatever way I was hurt, that had nothing to do with them.
Right.
You know,
that's really good. And also it's like, what good are you doing for yourself?
Yeah. Which I know I don't have kids. I'm not divorced. Like I get it. But I just think like if you get back, sorry, I totally interrupted you, but I feel like somebody could be like, easy for you to say, sister. But like, honestly, if you get down to the basics of forgiveness and all of that, it's like, it is no good to drag the whole team down with you. Even though it feels like it is. It's like you could trash talk your ex-best friend until next year. But it's like, it does good. It just feels icky. It feels ugly.
It is.
It is ugly.
It doesn't make you feel
better.
No, it doesn't. No. That was the first time I really genuinely experienced anger, and it was an icky feeling. I'm like, this is not who I am. Like, Lord, please take this from me. And after so long of just like, I am going to forgive her. I forgive her. I forgive her. I genuinely had that change of heart. And that's really important to have. In Romans 1:2, your dad also shared this with me. And this is really key when it comes to having that change of heart. If you change how you think, the Lord will change how you feel. And that was kind of my words in that translation. But it's so true. Even if you don't believe it, change how you're thinking about that person that hurt you. It will change you from the inside out. It's so key. I remember even feeling that way about you because there are so many ways that you had hurt me. But in my mind, I was like, I love Bailey. I know her intent. I know she meant well in this. And it changed my heart.
Oh, a preach, dude. I felt that so much in like, I think when you sit in bitterness and unforgiveness, it's so easy to make that other person the ugliest, greenest, scariest monster that you're like, they have ill will towards me. They want me to do this. They want me to do that. It's like, you know what? Honestly, nobody cares that much about you. They're worried about themselves. And I, at some point, had made you such a big, like, intentional wrecking ball in my life. And I remember being like, of course, Abby would say that in that tone. Of course she would blah, 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 blah. Because, and it's like,
and how heavy do you feel?
Yes.
Like in your spirit, having those feelings towards me versus and I did the same thing versus approaching it of like, maybe she's really lost right now. And I know that she meant well by that. I just need to pray for her. Or, I don't know.
Yeah. Cause it's like, even if someone comes at you sideways, instead of retaliating in that bitterness, having the honestly mental maturity to be like, okay, instead of retaliating with this knee-jerk reaction, I'm just going to fire off a rude text back, just like maybe taking time and then being like, I'm going to pray for them. Or I'm just going to like, honestly, like the Bible says, one quick, two slows. It's like quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. And we just have that flipped. And it's like, we want to be quick to get angry and quick to speak back. It's like, and slow to listen. The quicker you can get at listening, the better you are going to be at it.
Right. And that goes for forgiving too.
Yeah.
Which I think there is like a very good balance to have. Me personally, I'm someone that I do need time to process, whether that's, somebody hurt me or there's just a conflict that hasn't been resolved. I do need time to process the information and all of the layers. Some people want to talk about it right then and there. Peacemakers.
No, I'm a peacemaker.
You're not that way.
Oh no, I need time.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. But I do have people in my life that
I have the pressing, like, this doesn't feel comfy, but I don't want to go to the board meeting if I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I knew that about you, but I do have people in my life that, we're going to talk about this. We're going to resolve it now. And that's fine. They're wired that way, but it's also okay to process and take that time, especially if you're wired that way. The conflict is not going to be resolved if we talk about it right now because of the way that I work. And so, having a balance though, not taking too long. I think it's really healthy. I think you're really good at this. You set an example in my relationship, and I've seen you in other relationships do this too. When you have came to me for advice, setting a timeline of like, I understand that you're someone that needs to process, but can we meet in the middle and 2 Saturdays from now, can we come back to the drawing board? And even if you come back to the drawing board and it's, I just don't think I'm ready. That says so much more. And it says so much like, I mean well for this relationship versus just stonewalling it.
Yeah.
And just like, I need time to process.
Because it's such a cop out to say.
Nothing. Yeah.
Like I remember in the past with an old roommate having a situation, as roommates do, that like there was this disagreement and being like, and then it just gets weird because time goes on and like things aren't said. And I remember just being like, hey, it's been X amount of time and our household is really weird. And like, I don't like living like this. I'm sure you don't like living like this.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. And I remember saying like, so I think it was 1 month at that check-in at that point. I said, hey, so 1 month and has it gotten any lighter? Because it hasn't for me. And if we don't pick a date and a time to actually like come together on this, do you think that 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, this like non-communication is going to make it better?
Right.
But I will say it's like both parties have to be willing to agree on, hey, at this time, like, let's at least check in. Like, I like what you said. If it's like, hey, I need more time, that's one thing. Because I think if you just go on and on and on and you don't like check in,
address it,
then it's just like, it's just easy to forget about it. And then
let's just sweep this under the rug.
Yeah.
And then it brings just damage to the relationship, detrimental damage sometimes. It's really, it's challenging. I mean, I am that way. Like I said earlier, I do take time to process, but I've been in relationships with other people that even take more time than me to process. And it matters what you're doing in that processing time. You know, it's like, are you softening your heart or are you just becoming bitter and bitter? And I'm not saying don't feel the feelings. You know, if somebody hurt you, it's important to feel the feelings, whether that's anger or, you know, sadness, whatever it is, feel those feelings, but then come back to yourself and, okay, I care about this person. I love this person. Or even if you don't feel like they're fit to be in your life in that time or that season, still love well and have a conversation.
To address it is the key.
Yeah.
And not just phase out and say nothing. Cause really that's the hard part about working on clear communication is like uncomfy conversations that are like, hey, you know, I feel like we are just not going to see eye to eye on this. And I really care about you and I love you. And I don't know that like we're the best fit for each other's life in this season right now or something like that, to just address it. Cause it's like just to dip out in the quiet feels like you just get to make that person this big scary monster. And I guess I'm speaking from the perspective of being someone who's like being stonewalled and like, you're like, I'm not getting anything from you. And for me, that makes the person that's like, has processed, they're ready. It just feels like you're on this loading dock and you're like, okay, this is just not fair. I feel like I'm wasting my life. So I feel like if you're able to say, hey, I know you're not ready, but I want you to know when you are ready, I'm here and I want to talk this through. I care about you. I love you. I know we don't see eye to eye and it's okay that you need more time, but I am so ready to talk this out. I don't know. I just feel like,
no, I think that's a great example of how you love well in a relationship. And I mean, that's why we're here on this earth, right? To love others well, the way that Jesus would love others. And I think that's a great example of doing that. I mean, forgiveness, it takes time. You know, you and I spent a year of processing and coming to that final conversation, but we had those check-ins. You know, we knew what page we were on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what led us to a successful relationship. And when we did have that final conversation and sit down of like, okay, I'm ready. I miss you. You know, if we hadn't taken the time to process our individual hurts, it would have been a different story. I'm just so thankful for it.
Oh,
I really
dude.
am. And like the grace that was there too for one another.
I think there was a lot of
crazy,
like understanding for one another. And I think that was really, really unique in a sense that like we were both like, and probably because we're family, it's like we have our whole lives. And I remember saying out loud to my mom, to whoever was in earshot, saying, I love Abby. I want her in my life forever. So right now I'm going to be very intentional with my time because I'm not going to just like have this halfway friendship of like resentment where I'm like, yeah, we can hang out. And I'm like, hanging out with you. And as soon as I leave talking trash about you, like, I didn't want to be like, oh, she was so annoying when she said this or that. And I this, then that, and that about her. And she was wearing my shirt and I you know,
sounds like
probably what I would say.
No, I was saying like, sounds like what I was probably
that is what I would
shirt.
have said if I like didn't take the time.
Yeah.
But I like wanted you in my life. Like I couldn't see. And I guess if I'm giving advice to someone who's in the midst of unforgiveness, just to get serious with how does this person fit in your life in the big picture? Yeah. Zoom out. Like, I feel like the most important tool you can ever do in life is zoom out. How big is this problem? How big is this thing in your life? Is it like, okay, we need to rearrange and like have a different dynamic? Or is it like, we need to hit pause? Right. And you are going to be an important person in my life, but like right now we need to, I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. I feel like, is this person a good way to assess it? Is this person adding value and giving life to my life?
Right.
And if they're not, that's okay. It's okay to take breaks from friendships. And, you know, maybe you guys don't end up getting back together, whether this is a romantic or just a friendship.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a step back. I think you learn so much about you, so much about that person in doing that. If you're having any doubt in your mind or question, like, is this person meant to be in my life right now? Take a step back and take some time. It exposes a lot. It brings a lot of things to light.
I totally agree. Like, I think bringing things to light, even if you know, are in the middle of an argument with someone, or you guys just, you're in that like unforgiveness kind of space, or like they need to ask for forgiveness. No, they need to ask for forgiveness. I think there's a lot to be said about, like, the older I get, I think a lot about communication. And I think a lot about like, you know what, can we just have like a word vom moment? Can we just like sit together, look at each other and be like, I don't know how to get from A to B, but like, I don't like how I feel right now. Yeah. So I just think that there's so much value in just talking.
There totally is. And you can spend so long on putting together a text or a letter that just sounds so perfect and poetic for this time that you meet with your friend or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. But honestly, sometimes just going raw dogging it with your friend or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, just getting everything out there of like, listen, I don't like the way I'm feeling. I love you. Maybe I'm not ready to like, you know, be back to where we were right now, but I just want to let you know I love you. And someday, like, I want to get back to that point. Yeah. Let's set a time that we can talk. Or, hey, checking in. Do you need more time? I'm ready to talk. If you're not ready to talk, I respect that. Give them that time. You hear nothing from them. Okay. You do not need them for forgiveness. Remember that. And it's like, you will never make the decision, or you will never feel more heavy for making the decision to genuinely just forgive them, like within yourself. Like, you know, they're on their own journey.
What do you mean? You'll never feel more heavy?
You'll never feel...
If you don't?
If you don't. Yeah. Sorry. You won't feel heavy making the decision of like, okay, change of mind. I forgive them. They're on their own journey.
I'm trying to think of a scenario where someone could be like, yeah, well, like someone's mom in their adult life, like you were just saying, like your mom had hurt you. But I'm just trying to think of like a hypothetical situation. With them being like, yeah, but you don't get my situation. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of, I don't think you guys can hear that on the microphones, because every time we think you can hear something, you can, but Jordan is going off gaming. So sorry if you can. I'll have to forgive him later. I don't know, but I'm just trying to think of like a different scenario. Whatever, just choo, goodbye.
Whatever. But lots of good stuff. Forgiveness is hard. It's heavy and it takes time.
Yeah.
And being in a world where things are fast, you know, we have things at the tip of our fingertips. Hate to use that, but it's true. I think patience is something, I mean, that I'm still working on. When I want it now.
I know. Honestly, I feel like that is the best thing to live by is one quick, two slows.
I like that. And I'm really
My
glad
dad
you
always
reminded
says
me
that.
of that.
Shout out LP for all of these nuggets this
I
episode.
know.
I love you, Dad.
Serious.
What a wise guy. But like, one quick, two slows, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. If everybody were to live their life by that, my, oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Quick to listen. Like, what does that even look like? Imagine like you're texting with your friend, hey, like, let's meet at this time to, discuss our big falling out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the two different scenarios of showing up to that meeting, being quick to listen, or showing up to that meeting quick to speak. How different does that environment feel?
That's a really good point, Bailey. Yeah.
That's a really good point, Diane. Sorry. And audio just popped in my head. But yeah, if you were to show up and just be like having that intentionality in your heart to be like, okay, I'm really hurt by X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a weird feeling to be like, feel so justified in what it's a scary place to be.
Yeah. But I will say at the end of the conversation, I have felt this. You can look back and be like, wow, I really bit my tongue. And because I bit my tongue, this conversation went so well because I genuinely listened to their heart.
Right.
I listened to what they had to say. And that's loving someone well.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's real communication, honestly. Because if two people just come to this meeting and they just want to spew at one another, it's like, why even waste your breath?
Right.
Why?
And let's be honest, forgiveness or resolving that conflict, it does take a lot of energy. And I think some people are processing for so long with that anxiety and fear of that because they know having that conversation, it takes a lot of energy. Totally. I felt that a little bit with you in the very beginning. And I'm like, oh, there's just so much to unpack. Okay. But if you love this person, if they love you, unpack.
And honestly, there's a lot that when you really zoom out and you realize what's important and what's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you actually don't have to like. And then when you did this on April 1st and when you did this on whatever day, there's a lot you don't have to unpack.
Yeah.
When you're like, you know what, dude, we totally hurt each other. And imagine how much ground you cover by saying that. Like, totally, we hurt each other.
We did that.
Yeah.
Because when we first started this podcast in episode 3, I think it was, we were unpacking a little bit of like our individual hurts. And it was funny because we were sitting on this couch and I was like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. She's like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way, because we were able to process for the healthy amount of time that we both needed. It was like, let's look at big picture and what really matters here. Erin, what was it that she really helped? She said something last weekend when we were hanging out. I was just asking for advice, how to approach this conflict that I have with someone. And she was just like, zoom out. How big is the problem?
Oh, how big is the problem?
Is it really worth like
size of problem?
Yeah. Is it really worth addressing? She works with kids.
She says that to kids all day long. Size of problem. And
that is so basic, but I don't really think that way.
There's a lot about these like childhood lessons that we like think are important to teach kids that like, I don't know, you get to like 15 and you think they're not important anymore.
Yeah. So shout out to Erin. Love you, baby.
Seriously, dude. Like it is a size of problem thing where it's like, again, you could feel so justified. Then like you think about size of problem. They ruined my favorite pair of jeans and it's like size of problem. It's a freaking pair of jeans.
Yeah.
Was it intentional? No.
Right.
Do I stain my own clothes? Yes.
Yeah. That's a really good example. I'll never
mad at anybody for staining my clothes. I mean,
I will say though, like you borrow my clothes, you don't stain my clothes. Thank you.
I don't wear them to work.
Oh, ever. Because you know.
I vowed. Yeah. If I do, it'll be a jacket and I'll stay in the break room.
Well, I love you.
I give me your hand
and you squeeze you.
There was something. I was going to say, most times I feel like you're navigating this kind of conflict and it's not like a perfect scenario. A lot of times I think when you start to do this like intentional work on how you show up, how you talk to others, how you literally show up in life, you're going to be met with a lot of people who are not taking that time. They do not care. So what does it look like when you're in conflict with someone that you're like, all right, it's gonna be really hard, but I'm gonna really work on the 1 quick 2 slows. What does it look like when you go toe to toe with someone who is like, forget quick and slow, I'm justified, and like, like what does that look like? Okay, so if we're going to give a couple tips on if you're being met with someone who's stonewalling you and you have made the decision to like move forward as healthy as you can.
Soften your heart.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head with people who choose to stonewall. They're anxious and they're conflict avoidant. They really don't want to face it. I think what works really well is to be like, hey, talk about what you want out of this conversation and be like, hey, I want resolution between us, and affirm what their role is in your life. If it is of value, and if not, then that's a different conversation. But say, I really respect you. I really love your opinion. I love your role in my life, but I'm really hurt by X, Y, and Z. And talk about what you want. A plus B equals C. Talk about C. Say like, I want to be able to like have a relationship with you. And in order to do that, we need to address what just happened.
Bailey, that is so good.
You think?
Serious. I think that is really, really great advice.
Because I think
you're not going to go wrong with that.
It disarms
you're really not.
The stonewaller.
Right. Because you don't have ammo for this person.
Right.
And maybe they came into this conversation with ammo and then you hit them with, I love you. I respect you. And in the end result, this is what I want for us in our relationship. It kind of, I think, leaves them like,
it disarms them. Because what are they going to be like? Well, you hurt me when you did blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be like, you know what? No. And I own that. Yeah. I'm so sorry that I hurt you that way. Will you forgive me?
In a genuine way. Yes. I don't want this to sound like a manipulative tactic to having this conflict resolution. But I think this really is an example of loving someone well.
Totally, dude.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really good.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, you guys, that's going to wrap up our episode 10. If you have listened for these 10 episodes, thank you for joining us. We are so happy to be here and we're just really grateful. And again, I want to say thank you so much for all of the feedback, for following us on Instagram and Spotify, Apple Podcast. It really means a lot to us and we love you guys. We really do.
Yeah. Also like the engagement, like when people, when we're like, hey, will you respond to this or that? Like, thank you for responding because
it's not always easy putting yourself out there.
No.
And
I still kind of can't believe we have a podcast on.
I know. You guys have definitely made it a lot more comfortable and uncomfy for us. So thank you.
We love you.
We love you guys. Until next time. See ya.
Bye.